From the most unlikely, perhaps, places, Brimstone Pictures, a group of talented individuals right here in the Edmonton area, Preston Ewasiuk, Neil Chase, and S Raj Kumar join me on today's podcast.
Reluctantly.
This podcast, reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.
Thanks for having us, Terry. We appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to see you. First of all, let's start about, I think it was the Cocktail and Whiskey Festival that we ran into each other. Was
Yes.
it not? Yeah.
Yes, actually, that's saw you there. I had to come and say hi. That festival there was actually run by my wife's cousin. So,
Oh, is that right?
yeah. So we were there anyways, and as soon as I saw you there, it's like, yeah, hey, let's talk. I saw Stella there too, so it's it's a good time and a great event.
So Preston, you and Neil are kind of two of the three of the nucleus of Brimstone Pictures. Am I getting that right, or have things changed, or what?
No, it's myself, Neil Chase, and David Haycock are the founding fathers, I guess you could say, of Brimstone Pictures. We have a little saying now, they just call us the Brimstone Boys. Yeah, we are the ones who started it. We started working together a little bit before we filmed or put together the company, filming just a little short during COVID called Bobageddon. And that's when we first worked together. That was just a fun little short about Ukrainian Babas slaving away making pierogies, and how Canadian and Ukrainian is that, right? So pure Albertan. But we knew that from that we liked working together, and that ideas came from that meeting that eventually led to Boneyard Racers, which was the genesis of Brimstone Pictures.
So from the Babas and the pierogies to the Racers, and then now to Contamination, which has the release date November 14th. Well, I guess it was released earlier than that, but with the premiere, world premiere and stuff. But with the theatrical release in the Edmonton area, that's November 14th, the week of. What is the time span? Like, where did it start up until now?
From that, it's only been, 4 years now, Neil? Something like that?
For Contamination? No, Contamination.
For Contamination.
Wrote that last year. Wrote that script
I meant
year.
from the start of Brimstone all the way up to Contamination, where we are now.
4 years.
Yeah, it's been 4 years since the start. Yeah.
And so S Raj Kumar, you don't strike me as a Ukrainian pierogi eating kind of a dude. I know. Were you born in the Fiji Islands? Is that it?
Yeah, I was born in the Fiji Islands, and then my family all migrated to Canada when I was little. So I've been raised in Canada, but born in the Fiji Islands.
And your connection to Brimstone and everything like that, the Contamination isn't the first project you've worked on with these.
Correct. So I've worked with Neil before. And when Neil and Preston and David started Brimstone, they had released a teaser for this horror thing that they had done called Rutherford Manor. And I had watched that. And I moved to LA after high school. So I've done a lot of projects and stuff in the US. And I've never seen a project that was made out of Edmonton that I sat there and went, why was I not on this? So they were on my radar, and I'd always watch the things that they were doing slowly. And I'm like, how do I get onto this team? Because the production value and everything that they had to offer is exactly what I wanted to put on my resume. Talked to Neil for a bit, and he was like, when the next film that we're going to do, Spin the Wheel came along. I got the role of Angel, and the rest is just history. And now I want to just attach myself to these guys because they produce some really, really good stuff. So
is this got the potential to be one of those Adam Sandler things where, you know how Adam Sandler hires all of his buddies to be dotted in and out of his movies, whether it's Rob Schneider or David Spade or, going back to the Chris Farley days and that sort of thing, where it's a nucleus of individuals that make up the greater good sort of thing of Brimstone Pictures?
I would hope so as an actor, because like I said, the stuff, when you see Contamination, it'll speak for itself, right? You'll see the kind of stuff that Brimstone really puts itself behind. So I'm hoping to do that. I think if I do well enough, we'll be able to have that happen. But as an actor, I truly, truly hope so.
And Neil, with the world premiere already happened, there's already been rave reviews about Contamination, and we're expecting hopefully more with the release the week of November 14th, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we are so excited for this. We've got the Yikes Film Festival coming up on November 8th. That's going to be officially our Edmonton premiere. But then our theatrical premiere is the following weekend, November 14th. We're playing at Edmonton City Centre, Landmark Theatres. It's an amazing venue for us to be part of, to see the film up on the big screen. There's so much excitement around it, and when we first made this film, it was for the big screen. Everybody dreams of seeing their film on the big screen, but it doesn't always pan out that way, especially for indie film. So when the opportunity presented itself, well, we had to jump at it, and the ticket sales have been so good that we got additional dates in Calgary, and now we've gotten also dates in Toronto, Kingston, Ottawa. So we're growing. We're growing slowly but surely. It's pretty fantastic, or maybe not so slowly. That's the case, maybe, I don't know. But the reception's been wonderful, sort of exceeding our expectations, but in the best way possible.
How do you get? You're talking about having specific dates in theaters that are happening in the Edmonton area, and then Calgary, and then maybe across the country. How does it get a wide release? What's the process of going through to get that?
Honestly, I think a little bit of skill, a lot of luck, probably talking with the right people. Just to give you a little bit of a background, when an indie film typically makes its debut theatrically, it'll do so in one of two ways. One way is the festival route. You'll put your film in a festival, it gets shown on a big screen. The other way is that you rent out a theater yourself, and then you bring your friends, your family, whoever, and you screen the film. That's like 95% of indie films. We're sort of in this much rarer, smaller category now, where we've actually been picked up by, a theatrical chain, and they want to showcase our film. And a lot of it is to do, like I said, with our pre-sales. So originally we got 3 screenings in the Edmonton area. They saw something in our film that they liked, and they said, well, we'll take a chance on this. We sold out 2 of the 3 screenings within 24 hours. And it was enough to make some heads turn, I guess, on that corporate level, where they said, okay, we're going to give you a couple more screenings, and which we didn't even know about until we happened to look on the site. It's like, oh, look at this. We've got more. And then the conversation came up. What other cities would you guys be interested in playing? And that was a little bit of back and forth between us to figure out what's the right fit. What are the places, because they're the experts, obviously, they know their theater chains, they know their audience. So the idea was, where do you think we'll have a good chance of doing well? Because after all, we're not a big film. This isn't a film with, tens of millions of dollars behind it. It's not a film with star power. All we have at our disposal is heart, passion, dedication to telling a good story, telling an exciting story. We've got lots of action, pretty much wall to wall. One reviewer said that it's the kind of movie that would make Jesse Ventura smile, which we took as probably the best compliment we could get. So, we've got that going for us. And I think people are picking up on that. There's a lack of films, I think, on a bigger scale, on a theatrical scale, that you get the sense that everyone involved is really passionate about working on it and trying to make the best thing possible. A lot of times you get the sense that it's a good paycheck for a lot of people, and they're being very professional and they're being very good at what they do, but maybe the heart, the passion's not there. And I think we try to make up for that on our end.
So if it's a passion project, well, look, you talk about star power.
Yeah.
One of the stars of the film, S Raj Kumar, is in it. Tell me about what give me a synopsis. What's the film about? Contamination. Has it got something? Was it inspired somehow by COVID, or is it something completely different and just sort of fiction, or what? You run me through it there, Raj.
So it's not anything to do with COVID, right? So
Okay,
basically,
good.
what the movie is, if you were to kind of put it down in a couple of sentences, you have a black ops team that has been sent to a laboratory to retrieve some data and to destroy it. And these men have gone on missions and stuff before, but this mission, all the crap hits the fan. And it's a mission that none of them really knew what they were getting themselves into. So while it does deal with, I guess kind of a virus or whatnot, it has nothing to do with COVID. We wanted to just have an action film, like an action film where you watch things like Predator, or even like the movie like The Thing, and bring back that whole 80s kind of action film where it's just action. You're sitting at the edge of your seat. It reminds me of like one of my favorite movies is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And the reason why I love that movie, it's just action packed. You don't have time to really breathe, right? You go from one thing to another to another. And this film is exactly like that. It's just action after action after action after action. And it's a big throwback to all your films in like the 80s, those action films that you watch with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that kind of stuff. So that's where that passion project comes from as well. It's something that all of us just kind of wanted to do. And when I saw the script of it and I read it, I was like, wow, I remember sitting when I was 7 years old watching movies like this and how much I love that. So that's basically what Contamination is in a nutshell.
It's so it's got black ops, it's got mutants, it's got a virus, it's got all kinds of things,
everything, running, things blowing up. We've got big toys we're playing with. We've got jets, and anything and everything you can think of. One-liners, camaraderie, brotherhood, all that kind of stuff. Everything that you remember from your 80s kind of action films, we've got in this film.
So with the black ops thing, there's probably some sort of military training that had to have been done, or people who are in the military that maybe have been consultants or something like that on the film. Do you have any military experience?
So this was I guess the biggest hurdle that I had with the film. Like I said, I was living in LA for a bit, and I did all these kind of films, and a lot of the times you have like stunt doubles and stuff that they get to do this stuff. The great thing I loved about this is Brimstone actually set us up with combat training, military training, like how to handle guns and stuff like that. So we went through like a regiment of just training and how to do that kind of stuff. I joke and I tell people that I'm now ready for a zombie apocalypse, but legit, don't count on me. I'm not fight. So you'd be screwed. But I feel like I'm prepared. But yeah, like they put us through rigorous training and stuff like that. And you'll be able to see it in the actual film. One of our the leads as well, one of the main guys, his name's Tom, and he was in the military. So he was a lot of my go-to for like, and I tell this story a lot. One of the first things I went up to Tom is I have my gun. I have a grenade launcher. And I look at him and I go, so does my gun go or does it go? And he looks at me and he goes, how do you want it to go? And I'm like, and he's like, then that's how your gun goes. So I love that we had that correspondent on set as well. And the fact that he was in the film, because we have that brotherhood. So I didn't feel stupid asking questions. I probably feel really stupid asking. So we had everything on set for people like me who aren't experienced in that combat and military things to make it more comfortable for me.
Your gun sounds need some work.
Oh, yeah, my gun sounds needs some work.
Pew, 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 pew.
I swear I did better on set when I was asking. It was much deeper voice view and everything.
It was really important to us to have not only the Hollywood sensibility as far as how things looked and played through, but we wanted to have some authenticity to the entire team, right? So we trained everybody for 2 months, everything from how to handle weapons, clearing a room, working in lines together, how to not to swipe their weapons across each other, hand-to-hand combat, how to fall. We had tons of training in gyms with all of these toys, I guess you could say. We did tons of training at a dojo in St. Albert as well. So our stunt coordinator, Jack Morrison, he's one of the teachers at the dojo. And so we went in there, I don't even know how many times, just mat training, continuing to train, and then continuing to choreograph certain scenes, right? So all of that continued to happen all the way right up to shooting. It was really, really, really important to us to do this, because that's how you're going to get what you see in the film. If you were to just throw the actors in there without any of this training, you're literally taking like 2 minutes to say, okay, do this, do this, do this. That becomes a problem when you're shooting on the day, right? So for us, it was not just about authenticity, but it's also just being prepared on our shoot days, which makes filming just so much more efficient.
Talking about doing the training at a St. Albert dojo, and said, how much, if all of it, filmed in the Edmonton region, the whole thing, or was there location shoots as well?
We were all over Alberta. It's a great question. So in Edmonton, we filmed at API Labs, which is a real bio research lab in South Edmonton, in the Edmonton Research Park there near South Edmonton Common. We filmed at the University of Alberta Chemistry Building. We filmed 50 feet underneath the chemistry building. It's pretty creepy down there. We filmed in Strathcona Wilderness Center. We filmed in Fort Saskatchewan. So that's more the local stuff. On Villeneuve Airport as well. We had free run of the airport for 2 days. That was amazing as well. Edmonton Airports and the staff there were amazing to work with. But we also filmed in the Jasper area. We filmed in the Edson area. We filmed a huge part of the movie out at the Brazeau mine in Nordic. It's the pieces that we have in this movie are like true Hollywood level pieces. You know, everything from just vehicles. We have real jets. We actually are flying the jets in the movie. We have real Humvees. We have the only thing that's actually isn't real in the movie are the weapons. They are airsoft weapons, but our VFX crew is so good at working with that, and then we're training our actors how to handle those weapons and to have kickback from the guns. We get constantly asked, even by military people, how did you get permission to use real weapons? Right? So because we didn't want to run into any sort of safety issues, and it's just so much easier. And then the licensing and it's so much more complicated when you're dealing with blanks. And considering some of the things that have happened over the past 10, 20 years as far as accidents, we didn't want to deal with any of that stuff, right? But real military people, real paratroopers coming to us and going, is that real? Because we did a test audience with a lot of military people as well, and they were really blown away by how it all turned out.
I would imagine there's a certain level of authenticity that has to happen in a movie like this in order for people, because you're going to run into those people. I mean, I have no military training whatsoever, so if I see stuff, I'm going to go, oh, well, that could be real. But at the same time, I can also pick up. If I see bullshit, I call bullshit, basically.
Yeah, fair enough.
What it comes down to. But
yeah,
I mean, that's why you have your experts and your consultants all going through there and helping you out through all of that.
Yes. So like Tom Sunderland, he just retired. He's a major in the military. He's an actual real paratrooper. Some of the stuff in the theaters he's been in, he can't even tell us about. Mm-hmm. So he, for lack of a better word, he's seen the shit. So, and as one of the major cast members for this, because there's five main guys, and Tom's one of them. He just naturally moved so well with the team that it even made like Neil's job a little easier too, like not having to direct him on every tiny little movement, right? So it creates an authenticity and a flow, and because of his experience teaching the other actors how to do these things. Plus, some of the other actors also have a little bit more experience in military. We have a few other vets as well. It all just kind of came together into this, wonderful stew that just shows on the screen, and we couldn't be happier because it's this great mix of authenticity, but still Hollywood, right? It's no one shooting their guns from the side or anything stupid like that, right? It's the real deal, right?
Yeah.
Reluctantly.
This podcast, reluctantly sponsored by Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Handcrafted suits, custom tuxedos, and tailored essentials. Suits starting at $1,188. Made to measure, right here in downtown Edmonton. Concept, CONXEPPT.com. If you reach out to Dave or anyone at Concept.com, please let them know that you heard about them on the Reluctantly podcast.
We start with a conversation. style, fabric, and color analysis, measured and handcrafted within 4 weeks. It ends with confidence. Concept.com.
So Neil, you, as director, how has the sort of journey between like aren't you an engineer or something like that? Didn't you go to school for engineering or
Yes, yeah. So my
how do you become a director after being an engineer? Like you should have a big egghead.
honestly, I think the egghead helps, believe it or not, because directors have to be so incredibly detail oriented about every little thing, to the point of being, I think, a little bit anal about it. And I think engineers are kind of a natural fit for that. The only good side is that, unlike most other engineers that at least I knew, I had this creative side of me that always was trying to get out. So, put a long story short, the way I even got into film was when I first moved to Edmonton. I had taken an acting class just to sort of get to know some other people and expand my social circles beyond just a few people that I worked with. And I took to it instantly. I just loved it. It was great. It's something I'd never did before. And I really enjoyed myself. A great group of people, some of whom are still friends with, to this day, from that very, very first acting class all those years ago. And that became a transition to actually writing some short screenplays, which then turned into feature screenplays, which then eventually, after hooking up with Preston and David, we said, okay, let's put some of these into action. Let's make them ourselves. And we've got kind of a nice collaborative environment at Brimstone. We tend to look at everything in a democratic way. It's usually, best 2 out of 3 wins the day, whatever the case may be. And when it comes to the directing side, Dave and I usually kind of split up the roles. So I tend to take care of more the performance side of things. So because as I'm the writer, I'm in the headspace of a lot of the characters, and I think I know them so well. So I tend to take care of that side of things. Dave is more focused on the technical side of things. So what kind of lenses should we use, and more the film, the composition of the picture and things like this. Of course, I'll throw in my 2 cents, whether he likes it or not. But and then vice versa. He has input as well on the acting side, and we just find we have a really great sort of rapport, great system in place. It's all built on respect, all built on trust, and to circle back to what you said earlier, that sort of Adam Sandler mentality. I always think of it as more like a Tarantino-esque vibe, where you see the same actors and cast and crew working with the director over and over again. And the reason is, when you find a group of people where things click and they're easy, it makes things so much easier for everybody, because the expectations are less, the stress level is less, and the amount of creativity goes up because people feel more at ease, they feel more relaxed, more trusting. And then you can say, okay, you know what? We can play a little bit here. We can try new things that maybe we haven't yet. We can go beyond what the script is just telling us and try some things out. And I'll be honest, that's when you get some real magic.
When you're doing a film like this, I suppose there's time is money, and when you're on a production and you're paying everybody and you're renting a space or whatever the case may be. What's that called when you shoot a scene and it's from one camera angle and there's a can of Coke sitting on the counter, and then you shoot it scene from the same person from the other side and the can of Coke's gone. What is that called?
Continuity.
Continuity.
Right.
Yeah. Do you guys ever fuck around with each other and just, like you'll pull away the Coke can and say,
No.
"Oh, for Christ's sake."
No.
That's a big
no.
no-no.
There's too many parts.
That's a big no-no on any set. That's a good way of making sure you don't work on that set again.
Yeah.
What is it? Some of the is it Peter Sellers in The Party where he's I might be mixing 2 films together, but it was either Peter Sellers in The Party where he had a wristwatch on and he was supposed to be in like ancient Egypt riding a camel or a horse or something, and then there was another thing where there was a plane flying over and everybody was screaming and yelling on the set. But stuff like that.
I don't know. When you say that movie, I just think Birdie Num Num. But
yeah.
I think the plane thing was in the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. There was a plane behind him, like in the air as they were filming.
Oh, I heard about that one actually.
Yeah.
What was the one with Warren Beatty and was it Dustin
Ishtar.
Ishtar? Yeah, that
Might be
I
it.
seem to recall.
That
I
might be
seem
what
to
you're
recall
thinking
there
of.
was a bunch of horror stories from continuity and all kinds of bullshit that was going on in that too.
Oh, it happened in Game of Thrones. There's
The
a
Starbucks cup.
the
Yeah.
Starbucks cup. Yeah, the infamous coffee cup.
Continuity, that just makes me laugh. That's it. That's the kind of thing when I watch movies, I see that stuff. It's for some reason my brain picks up on that shit like
Yeah.
nobody's business, and I'll go, "Oh, did you notice blah 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 or whatever?" And everybody goes, "No, I didn't notice that." Yeah, sure, rewind it or whatever if we're
Yeah.
watching it on a streaming service or something.
I don't think you can get away from it 100%. I think it's impossible, especially when you film over a certain time frame. Things like haircuts, right? At some point, you need to get a trim, but then there's you'll see a shot, like one shot maybe or one angle. It's like, is his hair just a little bit longer, or is it styled just a little bit differently than in the reverse? It's like, yeah, stuff like that happens, and you can't escape it completely. I don't think you ever can, but I think you've done a good job when the audience maybe even notices, but they don't care because they're so engrossed in the story or the characters or what they're going through or even the dialogue that they're willing to sort of say, okay, you know what? It's fine. I understand it's a movie, but I'm really invested in what these characters are going through. And that to me is way more important than, the amount of water in the glass change.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just like your haircut, Raj, you've got the really short on the sides, and I know sometimes that can grow similarly to a beard, where all of a sudden you got a 5 o'clock shadow or whatever, and you have to keep that up pretty regularly over the course of a week or 2 weeks, don't you?
Yeah, like so I'm a barber as well, right? So I did some of the men's hair on film. When you do stuff like that, even if I'm doing it on my own, let's say I'm on a film and they're like, we need a shorter beard, you pick something that's easy to recreate every week, right? Yeah. So you do like a 2-guard beard, not something that's going to require a fade that you're going to have to keep it up every 2 days. So you do something that even if it grows out a bit, you won't be able to tell. So you can quickly do your cleanups every now and then. But things like that, I'm big on continuity. I'm kind of a douchebag when it comes to that. I'll watch movies specifically to watch things like that. Like I'll watch horror movies and it'll be like, some girl's running and her hair's in a ponytail and she's got 2 little things hanging down. And the next scene, all of it's pushed back and then it comes back again. So I sit there going, what? So she's running, does her hair, runs some more, redoes, and I'll watch like the cigarettes go smaller and bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. So I purposely will make sure that I am responsible for my own continuity. For Contamination, I found it kind of tricky because I got so involved in the filming that I was forgetting what I was doing. Like I was getting scared. We're running. And when I'm running, I'm counting how many steps I'm running. So I know where my arm is. So if they cut from this side, I'm doing the exact same thing. But we have all these things chasing after us in this thing. Half the time I wasn't even really acting. I was scared out of my life. Like I was scared shitless and I'm just screaming. So I had no idea where I was running. I'm like, was I here at this time or was I there at that time? I'm like, so it was crazy. It was fun. But yeah, the continuity is something that, like you, I look at as well.
When you're in scenes like that and you're running and whatnot, I would imagine I don't know the full extent of your movie roles and everything, but if you're running and all of a sudden there's explosions and stuff going on or car crashes or speeding vehicles, do you ever once in a while just say, "Holy shit! Like, am I safe here? Am I going to get blown up?"
Not necessarily the safe thing, but like sometimes you sit there and you're looking at the stuff around you and you're like, is this really real life? I showed up on set one day. Preston turns to me and goes, "So today you're going to be sitting in a jet." And I'm like, all right. They give me a beer. And they're like, "So you're just going to sit here in this?" And we shot the scene. I'm sitting in this jet, a legit jet. We're flying and I'm like, this is my job right now. Like I'm just hanging out here, right? So yeah, I know I'm safe, but it's so larger than life that you sometimes say, this is what I'm getting paid to do right now, is I'm sitting here in a zebra print shirt flying all over Villeneuve, right? And so yeah, things like that is good. But the safety thing, they're pretty good with keeping things safe. We're kept away from things that could that could hurt us. Even when we're running in certain areas, there'll be like there's stuff sticking out over here. The ground is a little uneven on this side, so just make sure. So they make sure, like they look at everything. So because I'm kind of a klutz sometimes, I need that, or else I'd have like 7 broken bones. But yeah, so to take care of it, they'll make sure that everything is set for you know where everything is. If you have any machines that are being used, if you have explosives, you are pretty far away from all that kind of stuff, so nothing does actually affect you. And then they just use camera tricks to make it seem like you're right there.
Yeah.
So
movie
what, if you're producing and or directing, Preston and Neil, I mean, you have these scenes that are coming up, and obviously you've written the movie and you're producing and directing the movie, and you've got special effects and so on. What, like, I've never talked to anybody who's made a movie like as involved as the three of you are.
Okay.
Well, like, where do you go to get your explosives? Like, do you go to Rona or like, I know Rona on the north side of St. Albert's pretty close to Villeneuve. Is that just a hop skip to get a little C4 or like what?
Well, you know, we just kind of make our own, but no, it's
Sometimes.
in this movie, our explosions are special effects, like they're VFX. And again, that comes down to everything from safety and additionally budget. The larger your budgets, the more you can get into practical explosives. There are people that do that in Alberta. It's very expensive. And so, you work within budgets. VFX in this movie, like gunshots, gun flares, even the the rounds coming out of the gun, the chamber moving, all like that, that's all special effects. It's all special effects. Our team did such a fantastic job of that. But if we were to say, for example, shoot blanks in this movie, now you do the math, it's $2 a shot, and we probably shot 20, 30,000 rounds. It's just, take after take after take, right? It's so, so that's one of the secrets of Hollywood is even in big Hollywood movies, special effects have gotten so good that it's actually very rare they're blowing things up for real. It's not like the old days in the 80s and 90s where you blew things up. Now, we want to bring more of that back. Like, we're big believers in practical effects, right? But then you have other safety. If we were blowing, well, let's put it this way. In the Nordegg mine site, there's no way we could have used real explosives or real guns. It's a heritage site. If we'd used explosives there, there's some buildings there. There's actually one building there that we had to keep everyone away from because if the right thing happened, that thing's going right over. And it's a huge part of the coal mine, right? Mm-hmm. So, it really boils down to just safety and money, right? As far as how to get those types of things, you go to the experts. You certainly can't go buy that at Rona or Home Depot. And it has to be licensed. You have to have, if you're using them, you're going to have fire trucks and ambulance and all of that stuff in place. So it's so much easier to just do it in post-production because then you don't have to have all of those other pieces of the puzzle in place right on set, and you can move a lot quicker. The other thing about using practical effects like that is it slows down your production massively. So, instead of being able to shoot, say, 5 or 6 scenes in a day, we might shoot 1 if we're actually blowing things up for real. And then you only have 1 chance at it too, right?
Do you see a movie like Fall Guy, which is a movie about basically stunts? And I remember Fall Guy, the TV show with Lee Majors back in the day. Preston, you're old enough, maybe not the other two of you.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. This, I love that analogy, Terry, because the original Fall Guy probably had more authenticity than the movie did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like special effects have just got to the point where, a movie like Fall Guy, you can quite frankly, and again, I haven't looked into it that deeply for that one, but in those scenes, 50, 60, 70% of it could be done in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
Or an LED screen. And then you augment it with special effects, right? Whereas, back in the era of, 70s, 80s, 90s, they're doing that stuff for real. And that's actually one of the things we're really proud of in Contamination is when you see the action, those are our real actors doing the real thing. We do have stunt people in this movie, but it's for certain types of stunts. But when the characters on screen say Neil or Serge, yeah, that's them. They're doing the real thing. The hand-to-hand fight that Tom has with the sniper, I mean, those are real fighters. They're both trained fighters going at it. And yeah, there's a few real hits in there. Thankfully, the body armor helps, but
Yeah.
you know, but it adds an authenticity to it.
Raj,
Yeah,
how
we
mu-
beat the shit out of each other in this film.
I was just going to say, how many of your own stunts
Pictures,
did you
man,
end up doing?
bruises. Like I have, because falling on the ground and stuff. And the thing is, like everything is choreographed, right? Like you go through this over and over again. But in like reality, when you have the adrenaline going, a lot of the times things start happening. You end up punching someone in the face that you didn't mean to. And as brothers, like we're all on this set, we kind of make a deal. Just do it. If it happens, just keep going. We'll apologize after. Just don't stop. Just keep going. If you accidentally make me, just keep going. If I'm bleeding, keep going. And we literally beat the living shit out of each other. And our fight scenes, like I said, like I have pictures I can show you, just bruises, falling on my ground, like, you know, stepping on things, but the authentic, it's authentic. Like we're actually fighting each other. And
He loved it though.
oh, it was so much fun. Like it was a blast to be able to do that as an actor, to be able to actually get your hands in there and literally knead the dough and not just sit there and get the food after. Like we made that, created that whole fight scene, throwing everybody around. Jack was great with our stunt coordinator, showing us how to fall properly. This guy though is, I swear, he's an alien. Because the first day we got on training, he jumps in the air, like 8 feet in the air, and then falls on his back. And he's like, "You're going to be doing this." There's no way I'm doing that, right? I'm like, "There's absolutely no way I'm doing that." I'll tuck and roll, right? Like I'll get that far. But yeah, by the end of this whole shoot, I probably couldn't do that, but I think I could do that, right? So
yeah. Well, Neil actually got some real chin music in one of the fights.
It was more
And,
like lip music. So
lip music. Okay.
one of the fights that I had, I took an elbow to the face, and you know, that's part of it. It's part and parcel of doing fight scenes. I was just disappointed that the camera wasn't rolling at the time, because we were just rehearsing the scene. And I remember the first thing I said was, "Did we get that?" And somebody said, "No, we're not rolling yet." And I said, "Oh, damn it." If only we'd had that on film, that would have made me happy. It would have been worth it then, you know. But to Serge's point, one of the things that I just want to touch on a little bit is, one of the things we really wanted to capture with this film in the hand-to-hand fight scenes was more of a gritty, realistic feel to it. You know, real fights are dirty. They're messy. It's not like this choreographed ballet that seems to be so prevalent in action movies these days, right? Where everybody seems to have like just perfect coordination. They can execute a spinning, jumping kick with such ease, and they make it looks like ballet, quite literally, right? We didn't want to have that. We wanted to have the sensibility that when these two guys are trying to kill each other, that's what it is. It's brutal. They're just trying to do the most effective job they can. And then as the movie goes, the style of fighting actually becomes more brutal, because they're that much more tired by the end of the film than they were at the beginning. So when they're fresher, the moves do look crisper and cleaner. But by the end, it's just two guys trying to take each other's heads off with every single hit. And I think we succeeded.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. Did you know that 60% of Canadian mortgages come up for renewal in 2025 and 2026? Is yours one of them? This is a great reason why you should reach out to ThompsonMortgages.com. Don't just DocuSign that email that comes from your current lender. Reach out to ThompsonMortgages.com. Ask Mike or any one of the team members if you should be on a fixed rate, a variable rate. What kind of terms should you be looking at? These are great questions for anyone at ThompsonMortgages.com. And if you do reach out, please let them know that you heard about this on the Reluctantly podcast. Was there a lot of night shooting compared to day shooting? What was the environment like, that aside from the locations that you've already mentioned?
Yeah, it's actually pretty much mostly in the day. We wanted this film to actually have a very short time frame in terms of the story being told. So it essentially starts off in the morning and it ends that evening of the same day. So the story is told throughout that day. The only time where it's physically dark is when we're in some of the interior locations, like the lab and places like this. It's quite dark in there. But outside, all of the exterior scenes are actually fairly well lit, which is kind of different than a lot of other movies of the same vein.
I wanted to. I purposely had this backdrop. I put this one up thinking that it was going to be adding to the drama of everything we were talking about with contamination. So,
Yeah, I love it.
skulking through forests and
I love it too. I got really scared when I first came on. I was like,
It
"Whoa."
works for me, bro. Yeah.
One of the things I have to tell you that's impressive is the Brimstone logo, the Brimstone, the visual of Brimstone. Brimstone Films, Brimstone Pictures, however people want to visualize that. It looks very. It looks, like it doesn't look like an indie. And I'm using my fully sanitized quotey fingers, but it doesn't look like an indie operation sort of thing. So,
Yeah. No, thank you for that.
yeah. How is the talking about the indie film industry or the film industry on a whole in, I guess, first the Edmonton region, Alberta, and then across Canada? What are you experiencing? Are there certain walls that you have to climb over or hoops that you have to jump through? What is it that you're facing with movie making?
Well, no, those are great questions. And again, thank you for noticing in regards to Brimstone. So when we formed Brimstone, we knew it was all about building a brand as well. So we knew we wanted to tell genre movies, right? Like make genre movies, tell these genre stories. We didn't want to do romantic comedies or heavy dramas or anything like that. So ultimately, part of that cool factor was like, how do we come up with the name? The name of Brimstone Pictures actually came from when we did Boneyard Racers. We did this fun little, we enjoyed making Boneyard Racers so much. We decided to make this little commercial just as a lark for Brimstone Motor Oil. And it's just, and I'll send you the link for that so you can see it. It's just something stupid, right? Where we just have some fun where this little dude comes in and his car's broken down and Dee Dee, one of the characters from Brimstone, is going to sell him Brimstone Motor Oil, And so we struggled with the name actually for weeks. And then it's finally dawned on us, wait a minute, we already know our name. This is it. So that's how the Brimstone name actually came to be. But we knew when we were forming this company, we wanted to build a brand, build a genre brand. So many independent movies that are made, whether it's in Canada and the US, and it's kind of the same all over. They always just concentrate on their project. It's like, okay, we're going to make a movie. We're going to make a Facebook page about that movie, and we're going to get 300 people that are going to go to it and like it. And then they do the same thing over and over and over and over again. But when you do that, you're not really building a brand. You're really just kind of, I'm going to promote this film. I'm going to promote this film. And so we knew we wanted to bring everything into one centerpiece, which was essentially Brimstone, because our ultimate goals is to be making movies that are designed for the theater, for the audience. We're not about making movies for checkboxes or for festival judges or for whatever the trend of the day is, right? We're trying to bring back movies that are generally pure escapism, whatever story, whether it's something action or supernatural, thriller, horror. What do people like to see in the theater? We've been inundated for the past 10 years with so many politics and agenda and whatever other kind of BS that has been, you see it in TV, you see it in films. And to a point where people are really starting to just say, can I not just have some escapism for 2 hours? Because in the end, that's what entertainment is supposed to do. So as an independent film company, some of the biggest hurdles is ultimately getting to the place where we're at now and then beyond. Because again, we're a company that's making stuff that isn't like the thing of the day. We're trying to be forward thinking. You run into hurdles of first of all, you get told, well, you can't make it that way. that's not the way it's done. It's like, well, no, okay, fine, we're still going to do it our way. You get told, well, you can't tell that story, or you can't have that kind of, so there's all of those social agenda aspects of it that happen. But then there's the other doors that don't open until you get to a certain point. And that's the point of like making short films, or you starting to make feature films. But you have to navigate through this swath or swamp, or maybe swamp is the right word. You have to navigate this swamp of the industry to try to transcend and break through and get noticed. And that's always been our primary goal, is to make things that people notice. So, for example, and the guys can attest to this, I don't do this for the money. I do this because one day I want to go to San Diego Comic-Con and see somebody cosplaying one of our characters.
Right.
Like that, when that happens, you've transcended something and you've become part of the pop culture lexicon. And that's really important to me. I mean, obviously, our films are getting to the point where money is starting to come, but before that doesn't exist. You have to go through this hoop and that hoop. Then once you get big enough, and once you start to really get noticed, then the other bodies start to notice you. It's a chicken and egg thing, or a horse and cart thing. It's frustrating, but also rewarding as you start to break through and transcend as well. Right?
Well, it's the other thing too is you have to learn to not listen to people to a certain regard, because there's going to be a million people out there that tell you, no, you can't. It's the same Raj, for acting. It might be a no, but it's not never. It's a no right now sort of thing.
Yeah.
And changing what you start out as, maybe in your case, Neil, from engineer to all of a sudden screenplay writer, movie director, movie writer, and that sort of thing. Whether it's someone close to you in your family, or whether it's somebody in the industry, if you keep listening to people that tell you can't, then you won't.
That's
So
exactly right. That's
you have
exactly
to
right.
keep plowing through stuff and getting through the barricades that are there. From a movie making point of view, we all hear, and it was brought up because the U.S. president was talking about having tariffs on Hollywood, because if they would make movies outside of the U.S. and come to Canada and that sort of thing. So what kind of impact does U.S. movie making have on an indie filmmaker group like yours?
At this point, not very much.
No.
The whole beef, I guess, as if you call it, between the U.S. Canadian side, that's more on the bigger budget level. In terms of indie film, we tend to be sort of isolated a lot more from that. But one of the things that, as we're growing, and we had our premiere down in LA, for example, which opened up some eyes, and we had a number of meetings down there with some production companies, and it opened up their eyes to the possibility of filming up here. So it's great. This is one of those things where indie film, I think, opens a lot of doors, in the sense that there aren't as many restrictions in place. Not as many hurdles to jump over, right? Because the budget levels are so much smaller. You're talking about, you're not talking about tens of millions of dollars, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. And now suddenly that makes things a lot easier for everyone involved to say, okay, we know we're not making the next Avengers movie, but can we make the next John Wick style film at a lower level? And now it's like, oh, that's possible. Right? We can't have these giant epics, but what we can do is do what we do really well, and on a smaller budget. Now suddenly people outside of Alberta, people in the States, for example, are looking in here and saying, well, with all of your tax incentives and things that are in place, the grant system, for example, can we take advantage of some of these things and maybe come up there and make one of these smaller films? And I think you're going to see that more and more.
I guess it's the similar sort of thing with your scenario, Raj. I mean, you've been in movies and you've worked with Neil and Preston, but you're also more than game to go elsewhere and work on other productions as an actor. That's you want to spread your wings, to show your abilities, whether it's different genres or whatever the case. You're always open to something else, anything that another opportunity that provides itself, right?
Yeah, you bet. Well, yeah, whatever comes your way, right? With the landscape of film, it's weird. It goes in waves, right? You'll have like a set of films that come out that are going to be very similar. I'm sure you've noticed that in theaters. It's the same kind of stuff over and over again. And the great thing about being an indie film is, like Neil was saying, you have the opportunity to kind of branch out and play with it in a way that you wouldn't really be able to with a big budget film, like a big American Hollywood kind of movie. I look at it kind of like being a lead role and a supporting role in a film. I love doing supporting characters only because I have more freedom with the character. For example, if I was to play a lead and I decide to make a change for how my character is, it could affect the whole story, right? Because that story is revolving around that character. Now, if I'm a villain or a comedic relief or something like that, if I decide to have a weird quirk, I can have that weird quirk. And that could be the quirk that makes me stand out as an actor. Somebody's going to look at that and be like, wow, he did that really well. So you kind of get to play with more. With independent films, we get to play much more than what we can because we don't have that $100 million budget on the line, right? And with films as well, with roles, it's just that kind of thing. Whatever comes your way. I like to take roles that I would watch. Like, would I want to watch this person in a movie? Right. So sometimes I'll get a role. It's a great meaty role, but I look at it and I go, I'd be bored watching this. Like, I would not want to watch this person. There's nothing about him that reaches out to me and things like that. So that's the kind of stuff that I look for. So any kind of stuff that can come this way. I do want to work though hand in hand with Brimstone, like we have, but like other opportunities that come my way. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that stuff too as well.
With Brimstone being an independent and being, the brainchild and the hard work of the three of you, Neil, Preston, and Dave, and your team around you, I guess I don't know if this is a naive question, just because I don't know a ton about the film industry, but I mean, obviously, there's a sense of pride for what you've done, what you've accomplished, and what Brimstone has achieved at this point. But is there any point where you think, oh, this would be really cool if it was swallowed up by the Marvel universe and we got absorbed into that, or MGM or Pixar or something like that? I know it's a different genre and Pixar is animated and bouncy lamps and stuff like that, but they're those big companies. So do you think that, oh, well, maybe somebody will see what we're doing and then we'll become part of that? Or would you prefer to have it so that Brimstone stands on its own and rises to the level of those other ones on its own?
Well, if I could just take this present real quick, for myself, I think we're never opposed to the idea of working with bigger budgets, bigger studios. In fact, we welcome that opportunity. As a storyteller, I would love to see what's possible at those levels. Now, that said, we have so many scripts of our own, that if the opportunity came along where, whoever, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Marvel, whoever came and said, hey, we want to scoop up this, say Contamination. We want to scoop it up. We want to remake it with a bunch of big name stars, if that was to happen, I would be thrilled. I'd be tickled pink. It would be like, because what that means is that this story that we told now gets told on a much bigger scale to a much bigger audience. So it's still our story. It's just that the storyteller has changed. That's fine. I don't mind. But it also doesn't take away from the fact that we've got this backlog of other stories that we have yet to tell, that we're going to tell. It's just a matter of time and money to tell those. So,
yeah. One of the jokes we have here is we have enough IP to keep us busy for 20 years. And although we say it's a joke, it actually isn't. We do have enough IP amongst all three of us just keep us busy for so long. But we're never afraid to entertain additional IP as well. Neil had mentioned some of the meetings we had in LA. Well, those meetings are all sorts of different things that are happening, including, again, one of them where they're going to bring their film up here and do a co-production with Brimstone Pictures to make their horror movie up here, because they saw us at our worldwide release at the Southern California International Film Festival, and seeing it on the big screen like that, it kind of makes them realize it's like, wow, you guys did that with that? It's like, yeah, we did. And there was even actually in the audience, there was an Emmy award winning director producer there as well that we actually ended up meeting with. It was the first time we ever met the guy. We ended up having a meeting in the Santa Monica Pier our last night there, just to talk about possibilities. And we've had a couple other meetings with him, and we're still exploring all of those possibilities and where those things go, right? But we've obviously caught some attention as well. And one of the things we say is we make no bones about it. Contamination would be considered a micro budget film, but it punches way above its weight. Most people think we spent $2 to $3 million on this film, and that it was achieved just through just the storytelling, the producing, the all the acting, the post production, the tenacity and dedication of everybody involved. And so the film punches massively above its weight class. So when you say to them and you tell them what in private meetings, you're telling them this is what we spent on this thing. And then we literally, the next sentence is, now imagine what I could do with $2 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'll make you a movie that looks like $20 million. And this is where I think the paradigm in the industry has to change. Is you have dramas they're being released that cost $50 million.
Yeah.
And as a producer, the first question I ask is, where'd all the money go?
Yeah. No car chases.
No. Like we're literally talking about people sitting in a house talking on a couch or on a park bench or in a coffee shop, or it's like, where'd all the money go?
Yeah.
So it's, and then the film might make $5 million in the box office, and not only did it lose $45 million in production, but a lot of people don't realize that when they post like budgets, that doesn't include advertising.
Yeah.
So like a film like the latest Tron was I think $160 million budget. They spent probably that amount just on advertising.
Yeah.
So you make a movie for say $2 million and it does $30-40 million. Now you have a business case, right?
Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it, with a drama worth $50 million, and not once did they destroy 200 cars underneath the train in Chicago like they did in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
That's right.
I love that scene.
So I guess the reason I asked the question, and I was kind of, I don't know, leery about whether or not I should ask it, because there's a certain amount of pride that comes with doing the work and getting to a certain extent, but at the same time, it might not be any different than some of these startups that get swallowed up by Meta or Microsoft or something like that. I guess there's a certain parallel there, isn't there?
I think there is a little bit. I mean, ultimately, if somebody like Paramount or Warner Brothers, saw what they saw, say, for example, here, actually, you know what? I'm going to use a perfect analogy.
Okay.
El Mariachi, the movie El Mariachi by Robert Rodriguez. So the movie Desperado is El Mariachi, just done on a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm.
So Rodriguez made that movie for $6,000 US in Mexico. That was it. And they are using, like, back then, of course, now they're using real weapons, all the blanks, the explosions, what have you. But there's a perfect example of somebody who got noticed in the industry as a little bit more groundbreaking, right? Okay, let's see what we can do now by putting real stars and real budgets behind the same story. And look what happened. And it launched his career. He's responsible for some absolutely amazing movies. So it's, if somebody like, say, Paramount came to us and said, hey, we really dig what you're doing. What else? And the next question is, what else you got? Wow, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
we have
and
this,
that
we have this,
goes
we have
back
this.
to all of the stuff that you said you had 20 years of IP.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's important, and that's again part of the concept of the Brimstone brand is, it's not about just being like a one-off or a one-trick pony. It's about having a stable of thoroughbreds that ultimately we want to bring to market. And
So I know that Contamination just had its world premiere beginning of October, and then the Canadian run, the week of the 14th in Edmonton in particular,
Yep.
November 14th, and the other stuff that is happening, across the rest of Canada and stuff. But is it too soon to say what's next?
I think it is probably at this point because we're
little bit.
so focused. We're just so focused on everything contamination right now.
Okay.
But we are discussing, like, honestly, we keep having these conversations probably weekly now. Is what should we focus on next after this?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of back and forth right now. But I think for us right now, the goal is let's try to make the biggest splash that we can with contamination, get it seen by as many people as we can so that they understand that, you know what, there's some really, really great film being made here in Alberta. There's some really, really great indie film being made in Canada. And it doesn't all have to be the typical Canadiana stuff that everyone's used to seeing. We can make stuff that's more in line with like Hollywood of old, with the 80s and early 90s. That some of these trendsetters like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino and Guy Ritchie, people who had smaller budgets, but they had a take no prisoners attitude and said, let's have some fun. Let's give something to the audience that the audience is going to remember for a really long time. And I think this speaks back to the topic we were talking about earlier. You mentioned this idea of what's our ultimate goal. I think where so many people are chasing trends, we're trying to chase timeless stories. We want to make the kind of stories that like 20 years from now, people will still be watching because they enjoyed it. That doesn't feel like a product of its time. It just feels like a standalone story that is worth watching and rewatching, talking about with your friends, and then telling people, hey, you got to go see this movie because it was fun.
Right on. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I sure hope I passed my hour-long audition for voiceover in a future in a future production.
You have an amazing
I
You never
voice.
know what the
So,
future holds.
yeah.
I appreciate you guys being here for this. This was super interesting, and best of luck with contamination. I can't wait to see what else you got cooking.
Thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you for
Darren.
having us.
Thanks for having us.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.